what you can do. My name is Jake, and we are doing the news for this space on January 26th. How's everybody doing out? Let's get to it. ICE requires a warrant to enter private property, just like the police, immigration, and customs enforcement.
Really fast.
The durability, the cutting edge, and the accessibility of having multiple tools in one really make these a step ahead of the rest.
Not sure anyone's listening? We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
The sound of a seatbelt is one of the most important sounds in our car.
It means everyone's ready and everyone's safe.
So make it a priority. Buckle up every time. It's not just a habit,
Okay, well, folks,
it's the way we drive.
Live. I am very, very excited for the Ball Pit Regal update. Quite exciting. And yeah, I'm live now. We're about to start. I'm just posting that I am live. Let me do this. I have thumbnails that I want to put up here. Okay, and then let's get into it. The resources, new balls, new content update. Okay, we got the stone ball. Initially deals 300 damage. Damage erodes by 40% each time hitting an enemy. Minimum 50. All right, that's cool. Iron onesie. Balls deal 0.5 more damage for each baby ball on the field. All right, that's good for baby ball build. And then we got some mystery items and 6 more. Ooh, I'm so excited. Okay, let me just do this. Share the link. Fantastic.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Monday, January 26, 2026. My name is Sam Cedar. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America,
as we do,
downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Wally Khan, multimedia reporter based in New York, covering state violence and working class America.
Hear him.
He's been reporting from Minneapolis. Also on the program today, VA ICU nurse Alex Preddy shot dead by federal goons in Minneapolis on Saturday morning. Shooting takes place a day after over 50,000 Minnesotans hit the streets. Thousands more joined the strike.
We don't have any
over the ICE invasion there. Democrats finally to take a stand on funding ICE
the latest level I'm on
in this upcoming budget vote.
I don't know, but let's go.
Some Republicans, a few, not many.
We're doing heaven. We're trying
getting wobbly knees. But in the Senate, Thune still insists on a full government funding vote, including DHS funding. Pam Bondi, meanwhile, says ICE will leave Minnesota if the state hands over sensitive voter roll information. This is how they're determining where they're going. look at that list of 20 states that have refused to hand over this information, and things will start being cleared. DOJ slashes funding and training for youth subjects of sex crimes, or I should say, for investigating of sex crimes against children. Got to save money somewhere. 800,000 without power in the wake of Winter Storm Fern. New York State on the verge of joining the redistricting war. FBI agent who tried investigating Renee Good's killing resigns. Immigrant detainees protest inside a Texas camp that is imprisoning a 5-year-old. And Moderna is curbing investment in vaccine trials because of U.S. anti-vax sentiment. All this and more.
Factor meals deliver pro-level nutrition. With chef-crafted...
Definitely not Fun Day Monday.
Not Fun Day Monday. Emma Vigeland, Sam Cedar here. Obviously, over the weekend, more... I mean, the ongoing... the ICE violence has been ongoing. But just another explicit act of authoritarianism, of violence, indicating that the mission of these federal immigration raids and invasions of cities are not a function of public safety whatsoever. I don't know if we're going to play the video of the shooting as we go on in the program. Maybe we will, but I imagine everyone has seen like the different angles.
There's no forensic debate about anything.
There really isn't. It happened at 9 a.m. The first video that came out was from a local Minneapolis paper. I just happened to be on Twitter at the 9 a.m. So watch this thing unfold. The first video was from across the street where you couldn't get a clear notion of what had taken place. Within hours, Drop Site acquired the video from the woman in pink or red, who people could see in the first videos on the other side of the scrum, as it were, videotaping. And then as it gets over the course of the day, very quickly, and this is important because Christy Nolan was out there lying, like full-on lying. But by the time she got up in front of that podium to lie, there had been so many videotapes circulating, comparing the angles, that before she opened her mouth,
hey, what up, Pinker?
the
How
narrative
you doing?
Was quite clear.
I'm so
what
excited.
happened.
We got new ball pit content
Freddie
today.
Was in the neighborhood. It was
big.
They
update,
talk about
new
him as if he was
new
protesting.
Balls, new
He was
items.
not protesting. This was not a protest.
Yeah.
There was about a dozen people, I think, people in the community, like this is a residential street, who came out because of ICE. And he was one of, at least, you could see at least a half a dozen people who were videotaping this. He was standing in the street to get a better view of sight of what ICE was doing. He was also sort of directing cars past him because they had also, like, nobody was clear what was going on, just like people driving. The ICE people, goons, have decided they don't like people videotaping them. Came over to shove, the ICE guy shoved a woman who was videotaping and flattened her onto the ground. She had both her hands on the camera. There was not a question of a threat. There was no activity.
But that's
except
the
for across
threat.
street.
But Freddie was also filming. Like
Right.
when we're saying, like, just to bring back to the overarching theme, they are terrified of having accountability. They can't get ahead of the story. Like, you know, there's the killing of that man. I'm blanking on his name. Keith Porter by ICE, and there's no video of it, so they can characterize it however they want.
Exactly.
But the reason they brutalized Freddie and the reason they brutalized the woman in that video was because they were filming them.
So the ICE agent shoves the woman down onto the ground. Preddy goes to the woman to try and help her up. The ICE agent then pepper sprays both of them in the face. And Preddy is attempting to protect the woman, and the ICE agent grabs his arm, starts to spin him. Other ICE agents see that
new ball,
this ICE
stone
agent
ball.
has basically
Here we
tackled now Preddy. So at one point you have like 5 or 6 guys on top of him. They have his arm secured. One of the ICE agents sees that he has a holstered weapon. He pulls the weapon. He says something to the effect of like, gun, or I got his gun. The only real question at this point, and certainly ICE has not made this allegation, is that as the guy pulls out, I think it was a SIG 30, was the handgun that Preddy was licensed to carry. There are some people who have speculated that that gun went off by accident. And that inspired the other ICE officer who had already drawn his weapon because he heard the word gun. I mean, this is, conjecture a little bit, but just from the video. Who knows what was in the minds of them. And he started to fire. And he fired at a minimum 6 shots.
Right, and there's no dispute about whether or not Preddy had his hand on the weapon. The question is if that gun was discharged by accident when it was pulled off of him, or if the shots were fired and there was no firing from that weaponry by the ICE officer that took it off of him. Either way, you'll see, when you see the video, of course, I think a lot of people have at this point, he fires multiple rounds into his back. This Preddy was a nurse caring for his community, helping a woman, and these wannabe masculine agents shoot a guy, these cowards shot him in the back as he was trying to help a woman on the street. And to your point about this wasn't a protest. They keep calling everything an operation. Preddy we don't know exactly why he was there, but when you're occupying a city, yeah, everything is a part of your so-called law enforcement operation because you're pulling people out of their cars and terrorizing them on the streets. So anyone that chooses to help, apparently
a blueprint,
is
a new
with the law
building.
enforcement
Oh my
operation.
God!
This is
Falconry hut.
This is as
that's
fascist
for
and
the
authoritarian
falconer.
as it gets.
Let's go, baby. Let's get that.
And so once that
fire and stone.
Once they
what is
shoot
this gonna
him
make?
and 6 or 7 times, it's unclear.
Brimstone
let's
applies 1 stack of
I guess
burn
we
and
could play this
poison
video from after
every
the
second
fact.
to all enemies within a 2
This would
tile
be number
radius.
4.
Nice. Max 4 stacks burn deals.
You will
per
see
stack,
that
per second,
one agent
poison.
is
Oh,
on the
burn
ground
and poison. Nice.
searching Preddy.
Ooh, look at that.
Basically yelling, "Where's the gun?" Assuming that there was a gun there. And then, according to the affidavit of a 29-year-old medical, I think, student or internist, they would not let that person go and examine Preddy until they showed their license, which of course they don't have their doctor's license on, and went there and saw that they were not providing any medical assistance to him whatsoever. All they were doing was counting the bullet holes.
They didn't want to live.
Well,
same
not
thing
only
with
that,
Renee Good.
but understand what they were doing.
Let's take another.
They were trying to manufacture a story so they could get their story straight. This was all about sort of like retconning this situation and trying to figure out how they were going to get out of it. But all right, so you hear him yelling, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun?" And then the other ICE agent who had already taken the gun before the shooting started.
Right.
Now, the point of it being that he was holstered, that the gun was holstered, is the way that DHS announced what happened is he brought a gun to a protest and he was armed. The implication being that he was using this gun and waving it in front of the DHS people. And so they wanted to create that fiction. But again, the video came out. There were so many videos that came out. By the time they had announced that, everybody knew it was a lie. I was watching MS Now. They had a couple of the law enforcement, ex-law enforcement types on who said, it's unclear. He didn't appear to be waving the gun or doing any of this, and it's hard for us to trust what DHS is doing. The analysis of all this misses the central point, is that DHS definitely did not want people videotaping them murdering somebody. But there is no leadership that is telling them to do anything differently than what they're doing. When Renee Good was shot,
getting hit,
ICE agents and all these federal goons, there was basically one of two directives that they could have been given. One would have been, we've shot somebody, we need to back off. You need to avoid engaging with protests or with people videotaping to the extent that you can. Do really go out of your way to avoid engaging. Or the other one is double down.
But we could freeze.
Tell them that they should have learned a lesson and do not change anything you're doing. In fact, get out there and make sure that people don't get in your face anymore.
So you're ready to cover it up fast.
And it's quite clear it's the second. Any talk of this is unprofessional, they don't seem to be trained. I mean, that's all true. But that's besides the point. The point is they are being sent out there to do exactly what they are doing. You can see footage of these guys as they are masked like a gang, supposedly dealing with protesters. One guy's shooting his gun and says, this is like Call of Duty, it's cool.
Right, and then said boo-hoo to people who were crying after they saw Preddy being shot multiple times in the back. Greg Bovino said, Caitlin Collins of CNN had this statement, said that essentially the federal agents that were involved in the shooting, and the killing, there were a bunch of them, they were beating them up like a gang, mass gang. That these agents are no longer in Minneapolis and have been reassigned to other locations for their safety, Bovino had said. Now, let's be clear, they're fleeing state authorities. Just like Jonathan Ross after he murdered Renee Good and shot her and killed her, immediately whisked out of the state. This is what they're pretending is a law enforcement operation when they're acting like the mafia.
Yeah,
actually, the mafia is probably a little bit
has more rules.
Has more rules.
Here's clip number 5. You can see an ICE agent's first reaction.
I don't know if we're gonna make it.
Same video.
I hope so.
This is just random shooting at people. Tossing in smoke grenades.
They were also, there's
tear
footage
gas
of them brandishing their weapons in the face of journalists just from yesterday, too.
It just blows that way. Fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah, there's your
Well, that's the part.
Okay,
But
now
that's
here
the,
is...
Yeah, other part, right?
Okay, that took place about an hour after the killing. I would say somewhere around 11 a.m. or so. This is just after the killing. This is a separate thing.
When they said the boo-hoo part.
Yes, this is just after.
Right.
I believe this is the clapping, guys. Okay. This is just after Freddy's been shot.
Even squeak it out.
You can see that guy clapping there, like our job is done here. Play this again. The one at the bottom of the screen here. And he just turns around like they're so clear.
There he is.
There is no threat. The
Yeah,
guy
they just like
claps
killing
and then
people.
just walks away, like turns
Just
around
murderers.
like we did
Trying to
that.
gang them. That's all.
It's stunning.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't the other part that I was referring to, but I mean, you just take my word for it. We heard after, you know, Renee Good was killed, one of the ICE officers, most likely Jonathan Ross, said, you know, effing bitch. And then what we heard on camera after this was GOOOO, because people were upset at what they saw in front of their eyes. It's,
Come on, get him.
We'll cover this later on, but one of the 7 Democrats in the House that voted to basically, you know, advance this ICE DHS funding increase, because as we played from Milo Jayapal last week, there was like basically an accounting trick with the last budget. So it looks like you're maintaining funding, but it actually is an increase in funding. And there were 7 Democrats that voted to do so.
I am
Just read
on
their
my
names.
last
I missed one the other. It was Henry Cuellar, who won his primary a few cycles ago against a wonderful progressive Jessica Cisneros by less than 1,000 votes after Jim Clyburn and Nancy Pelosi went down to support him.
Okay.
And he is an anti-abortion, pro-ICE, anti-trans Democrat. Voted to advance that funding. Mary Glusenkamp Perez,
might be
Jared
able to eat
Golden,
this out.
Don Davis, Laura Gillen, Vincente Gonzalez, and Tom Swazi, who is a representative from just a few miles away in Long Island. And this morning he sent out an email to his voters saying that he failed. Quote, I failed to view the DHS funding vote as a referendum on the illegal and immoral conduct of ICE in Minneapolis. That's less than a week ago. So that's how quickly these politics are changing. And too bad you decide to fund the ICE Gestapo instead of seeing what was right in front of your face.
All right, we're going to do a whole thing on the how this has impacted the funding vote as the show progresses. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Wally Khan on Minneapolis in the wake of this shooting. We'll be right back after. We'll be with him after I read these.
I nearly ran Jessica Cisneros out of town for getting close to me. Yeah, I know.
There's a product that
I remember that cycle. I
was using for
fucking
a decade,
Nancy Pelosi
prior to them
step
becoming
in
sponsors.
and being a fucking asshole.
Becomes more and more relevant
right after Roe v. Wade gets overturned.
with every day.
Oh, my body was slow. Okay.
Delete Me makes it quick and easy and safe to remove your personal data online when we have things like surveillance.
Right after Roe v. Wade gets overturned, let's elect a
frankly,
anti-abortion Democrat in Texas.
People,
ridiculous.
Looking to dox you or to chill your speech, or it's just a very intimidating time, I think, for a lot of people. I've been using this service for, like I said, at least a decade because of my job.
Okay.
My
volume should be a little bit. I also turn them down a little bit.
It has value to people, just to everyone. I mean, just in the way that I used to use it, but also.
I wish I didn't have to
things
subscribe
like, phishing
to be able
and
to put this on
identity
Twitch
theft.
too.
It really is key.
Because I'm like, do I want to do
a lot of the scams that
regular
you get in terms
and
of phishing
portrait
have very
on
little to
YouTube, or do I
with
want to do
technology.
just 2
They
streams,
have everything
one
to
on
do like
Twitch
some
or
type of
whatever?
social engineering.
Second
When
time was
people
nasty
get
too. There
your
was
names,
billboards all over the
your
district
family's
calling her a
names,
home
all
wrecker.
this, etc., that they can buy from a data broker at any time.
My God.
They can use this to contact
Well,
you
next
through
time we
email,
get
make
her
it seem
in.
like there's somebody that knows more about you than a random stranger would. That's how phishing attacks happen.
It's time to build this house.
It's easier than ever to find that personal information. You go to these data brokers, your address, your phone number, your family members' names, etc. And then sometimes they'll combine this with stuff
Cool.
they find on the dark
New
web.
character, the Falconer.
With Delete Me, you can protect your personal privacy or
here.
the privacy of your business from doxing attacks before sensitive information can be exploited. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring the Majority Report.
All
Take
right,
control
Falcon.
of your data.
Balls
keep
are
your
shot
private
from
life
2
private
Falcons
by signing
flying
up for
on
Delete
either
Me.
side of the screen.
Now at a special discount for our audience. Get 20% off
You know
your
what we're gonna
Delete
do?
Me
We're
plan
gonna take him
when you go to
alone.
joindeleteme.com/majority. Use the promo
I'm gonna
code
go
majority
all the
at
way
checkout.
back
The only way to get 20% off is
first
to
level.
go to joindeleteme.com/majority. Enter code majority at checkout. That's
Experiment a little bit
joindeleteme.com/majority. Code is majority. We will put the link and information in the podcast and YouTube description.
Oh my
Also,
God.
sponsoring the program today is Nutrafol. I just had my.
Well, I guess this is
annual
gonna be
physical
easy 'cause
with my doctor. And he's like,
we
"Any
ooh,
supplement, anything
leveled
you
up
taking?" And I said,
everybody.
"Yeah, I'm taking Nutrafol." He said,
Anyway.
Really? He was surprised. He says, "Does it work?" And I said, "It does. It's helping with my shedding." And he told me that his wife, her dermatologist recommended it to his wife.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Is it working for her?" And he goes, "Yeah, it seems to be."
That's
He's a
good.
very skeptical guy. But I've noticed it dramatically in terms of the shedding. Nutrafol now offers hair growth supplements tailored to men at every age because the root causes of hair thinning change over time, and your routine should too. Nutrafol for men ages 18 to 49 help improve their hair growth and achieve thicker, fuller hair in 3 to 6 months. New Nutrafol Men 50 Plus. I was not aware of that. I've been using the other one. First and only hair growth product specifically formulated for men 50 plus. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. You gotta try this 50 plus.
Is it butterscotch flavored?
That's the only way. You need to have like a second candy. I've had great experience. It's an old man joke.
Yes.
But it has made a big difference. Like you get to be my age and you sort of neurotically check when you're in the shower. When you come out, you look at your towel every time. Count. Anyways, I've had great experience. Em and I both know women who have had really good experience at this. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified. Is the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed. Automated deliveries, free shipping to help keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20% and get added perks to support your hair growth journey. Start Nutrafol today. Make the hat optional. Visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code TMR10, all one word, for $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code TMR10. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code TMR10, one word. Check the podcast and YouTube links, descriptions, I should say, for links, etc. All right, quick break. When we come back, Wally Khan, multimedia reporter based
do the
in New York,
laser.
covering state violence in working class America.
Get the laser out here.
On the ground in Minneapolis, or what it was like there.
Let's grab that. Evolution. Oh my god, I'm in the middle. I'm stuck. They all dropped on me. Let's grab that. gonna get the hemorrhage, and then we're gonna level up and fuse it with a laser.
Excuse me, my ball didn't hit this amazing deck, did it?
Nope, didn't hear anything.
You know, since I'm here, you mind if I take a closer look?
Sure, but I don't think your ball is...
An excellent grain.
Pretty sure he just wants to see the deck.
Yep, this happens all the time.
The neighbors will notice. Decorators, stand out. Your perfect domain is out there. Go to Wix and make it yours.
That's America.
Okay.
Wally, thanks for joining us. And we should just say right up front, you got a little bit of a voice issue because of the tear gas as a little going away gift in Minneapolis. What was the circumstance of that?
Well, that
I
was
bet my birds can't get it.
actually now that since that tear gas incident, I've kept safe since then. But it's been like more than 8 days where I've had this respiratory problem. But that was at the Whipple Federal Building, where ICE agents come out in droves, tear gas protesters, every hour actually. And so that night they started pelting, tear gas canisters at us and flashbangs. And I think all people were doing was that they were gathering around arriving ICE vehicles. And my mask was a little loose, and the density of the tear gas made it, impossible to do the work that I do, and it was blinding, and it was really painful.
What ostensibly is, I've seen tear gas in the context of protests that are, I think, like, authorities are afraid, like, oh, there's 10,000 people or 5,000 or 500 people who are coming to try and attack a federal building or are blocking, roads in the middle of the city. Like, what is the context? And what would be the value of just firing tear gas at people who are standing out in front of a detention facility?
Well, it's interesting because on one of the days, some of the protesters doused the entranceway to Whipple with water, because a lot of these ICE agents are just like wearing Vans and like Converse like canvas shoes, and they've slipped and fallen on their asses so many times. So one of the protest tactics is to pour water all over the entrance when they come out.
I'm an idiot.
And I want to reiterate, the ICE agents outnumber the number of protesters at Whipple. I mean, that on multiple nights there had to be less than 100 people, or less than like 150. And the ICE agents would come out from their cars where they were warming up in the parking lot and suit up, come out, and that day when they were pouring water, they got pissed. I mean, they came out, tear gassed a bunch of people, pepper sprayed, pepper balled people.
I think we're just gonna get
solidified
more
pepper
fusion.
spray, less lethals that are put in paintball guns and shot out at people. And actually, there have been a couple of blindings out of LA recently related to pepper ball. But yeah, I mean, their justification is that people are blocking the roadway when they really aren't. I mean, we're not seeing like them actually stop any vehicles. The cars still driving in and out of ICE of the Whipple Federal Building. There hasn't been that much impediment. Personally, I probably only saw one protester ever pop a tire of an ICE vehicle, and that wasn't even at the federal building.
Okay, so with that said, tell us what else you saw while you were there. At what point did you get back? Because we had a big general strike on Friday. 50,000 or more people, at the very least, protesting. Never mind necessarily participating in the strike. Give us a sense of like what you saw when you were last there.
So I left right before the general strike, the day after. I talked to a bunch of people on the ground during that day, and also who was there yesterday. But there was this general idea from a bunch of reporters that I was talking to that, protesters were standing there, they weren't doing anything, and you see this pattern emerge out of Minneapolis, and I was there for almost 2 weeks right after Killing Really Good. is that, you know, they'll go up to protesters and say, back up, and, you know, they'll say, don't move, or they'll say, move away, and they give these, like, contradictive, like, instructions where you're, like, destined to fail if you're just in proximity of an ICE agent. And, so there's a lot of tear gas that they love using, but at the same time, they're shooting off less lethals at protesters, and some of my friends, colleagues had gotten injured. But by and large, I think the retaliation against reporters has gotten more obvious on the ground. Just yesterday, even, at the Home Suites Hotel, where the Department of Prisons pointed a gun at two reporters, Ethan Noah Roy and Sean Beckner Carmichael, and, you know, they kept asking everybody, show me your fucking press badge. But they'll also say things like, we don't give a fuck if you're press. And so there is this very mixed messaging that actually really puts a lot of reporters and protesters at danger, because they don't know what their instructions are, and even if they are, they're like not legal instructions. They're not breaking any laws.
There's this notion that these are, you know, they keep saying you're impeding an operation or law enforcement operation. That was also the excuse that they use to
Wow, he's dead. Okay.
justify the killing of Alex Credy. Can you describe what a so-called operation looks like,
I like this guy.
with ICE? Because it seems like it's kind of, they're occupying the city, so the entire area is supposedly an operation.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. A lot of the enforcement at one point was concentrated on East Lake Street. And, you know, you could literally just see them going past all the time. They'd be stopping at these restaurants or turning into a neighborhood to terrorize people and to gas them when, you know, they blow their whistles or they are followed. But, you know, I just want to remind you know, your viewers that a lot of this language that we're seeing come out of the White House and DHS is couched in the NSPM 7 memo that dictated a very broad set of rules for what could be counted as domestic terrorism. Okay. So I posted a video last week where me and another photographer were tracking ICE, and we were on the rapid response chats, and you know, ICE jumps out of their car and they say, you know, if you fuck around, you're gonna get arrested. And the thing is, the one thing he said that caught my attention was at the end, he says that we've got your plate, we've got your name, it's gonna be, I think he said something about there being a database. And in Maine, where there is an extensive ICE operation happening there right now, officers were seen talking about a database, about people who are just filming. So when an ICE operation happens, they turn into a neighborhood, knock on doors, and they detain somebody, and they don't really check for papers. They're just like stopping people and just taking them. And so they see people filming as impeding on their operations, which is insane.
I think we actually have that video in Maine of the database, that exchange. It has been quite clear that they're videotaping. I mean, we know that Jonathan Ross, the killer of Renee Good, was videotaping her. And, you know, these guys are not doing it, maybe some of them are, for their like home movies, but they're doing it because they are intending to use this material at one point. Here's that exchange that you were talking about. This took place up in Maine, and you're saying you had a similar one in Minnesota. Let's watch this.
It's not illegal to record. Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered domestic terrorist. So
For videotaping you? Are you crazy?
That exchange is pretty revealing. I mean, regardless of questions of like, that doesn't seem terribly professional to be doing, et cetera, et cetera. He's telling the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And that was
video-
consistent. What we saw on that videotape was consistent with what you experienced down in Minneapolis.
Yeah, absolutely. There's actually a video of that on my Instagram too. And, like, they literally get out of a car. I wasn't even driving, and they said, you know, we've got the plate, we've got the vehicle. So I don't think they're just making a database of people. And you know, there has been so many reports of them using, you know, extremely flawed facial recognition AI to identify who's a migrant and who isn't. But the added aspect of that is that if they have a database of vehicles and plates, you know, it's kind of like the police's lead system, like when they can look up plates, but they actually need a reason to. These federal agents don't need a reason. And, you know, the risk is elevated for me because I'm like one of the few, you know, reporters on this beat who was a migrant who was terrified. Because it does raise questions about, you know, press freedom and, like, just stuff about the 14th Amendment. You know, people are getting arrested, pulled out of their cars simply for following ICE agents. But, like, you know, there's nothing illegal about that.
Give me a sense of, like, how much time did you spend with these rapid response networks in Minnesota and in Minneapolis? I wonder, A, what your impressions were of these networks, if they are networks. I mean, just how would you characterize what you're seeing there, and both from a sort of a tactical standpoint, and also just in terms of like the sentiment.
This is probably the most robust rapid response I've ever seen. What journalists do is very similar to what the rapid responders do, in the sense that they're spotting these vehicles, looking at the plates, and then the difference is rapid responders are almost always on a call signal, and they're people doing plate checks and giving information about where exactly an ICE vehicle is spotted. And when you're out following them, there was a case where me and a couple of reporters spotted an ICE vehicle outside of a neighborhood, inside of a neighborhood called Longfellow. You know, we pull up next to the vehicle, and he rolls down his window, and he has a live headset on, but he's unmasked, so that sometimes means that they're a supervisor instead of just like a regular agent. And we asked, are you ICE? And he was like, none of your fucking business. And so we noticed that there was a cage fitted into the back, and like lights, but also like this like front ramp that law enforcement uses to do pit stops. And we ended up following, you know, this officer for 20 miles north of Minneapolis. And that's something that you see all the time as well, that a lot of these agents aren't even getting out of their car. They're just leading people on wild goose chases with, you know, no results. And it's scary because you have to wonder if that's a decoy. We end up driving 20 miles north of Minneapolis, and then a cop car starts following us, and the ICE agent peels him off into the shoulder. And some of the rapid responders are telling me that sometimes ICE agents lead trackers and journalists on these chases to a county that's friendly to them, like where the sheriff is friendly to them, and have the cops lead. So there's an extreme elevated risk, because I've seen ICE agents go into a neighborhood, throw tear gas, take people, beat people, tear gas, like pepper spray them when they're on the ground, and you know, there's nothing that people can really do except like throw snowballs and like scream at them, which like, you know, it's nothing compared to the domestic terrorism language that we're seeing from the White House. But that's what I've been seeing with rapid response, that people are constantly on the call. They're going to businesses to patrol, even at negative 35 wind chill weathers, to do foot patrol, or drive past businesses during opening and closing, and during pickup and drop-off time for schools. So we're seeing like this one of the most organized, decentralized, hyper-local rapid response that we really haven't seen like anywhere else. lot of that infrastructure is coming.
I've heard some very good stories about what happened in Charlotte, and that folks were very good about driving ice out of there and making ice leave before they had hit anything close to their quotas, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly, the invasion of Minneapolis was of a size, I think like sort of unprecedented size up to this point, anyways. But what is it? Do you have any sense of like what accounts for the superlatives you're suggesting about Minneapolis? Like what was it? Is there something unique to Minneapolis, or is it simply temporally speaking, we're at a point where people are a greater number of people are engaged? Is it the size of the city? Is there something, do you think, I don't know, a spirit in Minneapolis in terms of a community, or the relationship between the immigrant population and other Minnesotans? What do you think it is?
I think a big part of it is that Minneapolis just can't catch up. I mean, the fact that Renee Good was killed so close to where George Floyd was murdered, there's so much anger that still lingers over that. And I think, the infrastructure is also good. First of all, it's actually really easy to get around in Minneapolis. If something like this happened in New York, to get from like the Bronx to like Jackson Heights, it's gonna take 40 minutes. The thing about Minneapolis, the thing about these ICE raids, is that if you're 5 minutes out from it, you're able to do whatever your goal is, which is either you try to follow them or honk or warn, or your reporter go and chase after it and document it. And the other thing is that there are a lot of people, and how emboldened right-wing figures are in flooding the zone in Minneapolis, and how emboldened they are to do a pro-ICE march and try to burn a Quran like Jake Lang tried to do. And he's tried to do this in Dearborn, Michigan. This is not his first time. He's always foiled. And
Yes,
I think a big part of this is that people there understand that more than 90% of Somalis in Minneapolis are citizens. So even from a numbers perspective, the federal enforcement is so brazen, so much of this has this authoritarian aesthetic to it that there's so much spectacle that I think people can't look away. One of Renee Good's neighbors was a Trump voter, and one of the most interesting videos I've seen out of it was an interview with him where he expresses extreme doubts about his belief. And so this is moving the needle for conservatives. I think, you can tell whatever you're seeing on the news, it's so much worse on the ground.
Yeah, can you?
I just wanted to on that 90% thing, because I think this is interesting, because I've read theories that the administration did not realize there were 90% of Somalis. I mean, we laugh about it, but I mean, it's not hard to believe that 90% were citizens. And so you have a population where you've got these ICE thugs going in there, and they assume they're just looking for Somalis. But 9 out of 10 of those are citizens, not legally in the country, not documented, not going through a process. They're citizens. And so,
let's get another damage ball.
It's probably 90% of the people they're harassing there and going on and thinking that they've got like a win, turns out to be citizens. And these are all people with families. These are all people who are, integrated into the community, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, this is, I wonder how much that, like, sort of, the tripwires they're hitting are pulling the community together and tighter than one would have expected. I mean, even prior to these multiple killings, murders.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think a big part of this, too, is that we have to be realistic about this resistance movement, which is that, we didn't see the world, the country rally around the killing of Jamie Alanis Garcia out of California when he fell off a 30-foot building when he was chased by ICE. We didn't see nationwide rallying around Silverio Gonzalez, who was killed in Chicago. And there was footage. And you know, even for Silverio's killing, it was such strikingly similar circumstances to Renee Good. I think a big part of this, and PBS NewsHour actually did an interview with a St. Paul cafe owner or something, or somebody who goes to the cafe, where there are, you know, paintings of Renee Good on the wall, and she very blatantly said that, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, that she could ideate or conceptualize the sort of violence that ICE is doing because Renee was a citizen. She was a white mother.
Yep.
So
I keep
when
saying
we look at
all
this,
the people
this,
talking about
like,
Alex
these
Preddy and
responses to these social
Renee
movements,
Good, and it's
I
like
think
there's
it's,
nine
really
other people
important.
who died,
And
but
you
they're
know,
not white.
like, and
so.
as a migrant, you know, I've seen this sort of response where people are so much more sympathetic. The press is so much more sympathetic to Minneapolis because a citizen got killed. And I think implicitly there's this idea that if somebody's undocumented and they weren't even supposed to be here in the first place, the death is no big deal because it was supposed to happen. So I think that's kind of my take on Minneapolis, but the resistance there is no less robust for it.
And it's a great point. You mentioned that there are some areas where maybe they drive to a police precinct or part of Minnesota where there's no sympathetic police. What have been your experience, what has other journalists and activists experienced with Minneapolis PD in particular as well, in resistance to ICE?
So it's interesting. Minneapolis PD, there was that night they shot a man in the leg, and people were taking to the streets. And I remember this huge presence of Minneapolis PD and protesters shouting that they haven't changed since George Floyd was killed. That they think that, I think one protester was like, "You think you're fucking better than these ICE agents? You're just more of the same." There has been a very heavy MPD response, and you know, and I think a big part of it too is that they don't really know what to do. They kind of stand around. They're also tear gassed by ICE agents. It happened in Chicago too, but by and large, I think maybe ideologically, a lot of these cops are more similar to an ICE agent than they are to Alex Preddy or Renee Good. So you're seeing MPD still enact violence and arrest people in Minneapolis under the guise of law and order. But, you know, at the same time, you know, Jacob Gray goes on TV and says a couple of bad words and making, you know, New York Times profiles on him. So
my other question for you is schools. We're hearing reports about ICE agents stationing outside of schools in Minnesota. I mean, I'm just like, just to plainly say what it is. It's masked men, unidentified men, stationed outside of schools and kidnapping children. This is from the party that says they care about protecting children from abuse. So how widespread is this practice based on your 2 weeks in the area?
Pretty prevalent. I mean, to a point where drop-off and pickup time is a really tense moment for a lot of parents and a lot of citizens and a lot of
Wanted. A flexible worker with a willingness to pitch in.
Stopping by at parks, nearby kindergartens, nearby schools, and churches. And I remember going to a church in St. Paul where the kids were just like looking out the window, and you know, there's an ICE vehicle just like literally a block away, just sitting there, and they'll make like heart signs at whoever takes a photo of them. And so there's like this aspect of like they're just waiting there. Sometimes they don't even do anything, right? Like the day Renee Good was killed, there was this huge altercation in one of the high schools in Minneapolis, and I think a lot of people that I've spoken to on the ground have told me that like they wonder if their school district is going to go online, and as somebody who went to school during COVID, it is just not the same. Like you're missing out on a lot. And we're seeing that. We're seeing ICE presence at schools and churches, and the community response is really just robust in the sense that there's always a bunch of people there to pick up and drop off.
What else, as we wrap up here, what else do you think we should understand about what's happening there? Is there anything that we've sort of left on the table, or do you have any thoughts as to what's going, where ICE is headed next, both either geographically or in terms of their tactics?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's enforcement already happening in Maine, Portland, Maine. I think the numbers are, I haven't checked it in a while, but in 3 days they took like 100
let's check out
people.
this other character.
And that's a lot. And I think, we need to have this sort of, like the same reaction Americans had for Renee Good and Alex Preddy getting killed should be scaled up to the 800 people missing from Alligator Alcatraz. Like, what happened to that? Like, I feel like we just moved on, That's a big deal. And I think that, the Trump administration mentioned that California and New York is next. I've spoken to a lot of folks in Minneapolis who are both citizens and also Somali migrants who believe that this will end in the midterms. I don't know about that. I think we're in for many, many years of this. I think the window has moved, and by and large, despite the resistance that we're seeing,
let's grab a house.
Americans could possibly get used to this. And I think that's a very scary thought that people aren't considering, that this could be the thing that happens for many years, and the midterms aren't going to save you. Maybe it could be a mitigating factor.
The carouser.
But this sort of enforcement is exactly like ICE is doing exactly what they were designed to do, and there's no amount of training. There's no amount of those 7 Democrats who voted for more funding for ICE for training or whatever.
Just do single player.
It's so ham-fisted. It's so brain dead. Like,
try this.
We can't vote this out. And I think the resistance needs to really ask itself what it's willing to put on the line for an occupational force in their city.
Oh, he's got that charm? Oh, boy.
Wally Khan, we will link to your Instagram channel. And
great photography.
Thank you.
Yeah,
really appreciate you coming on and giving us an update, and hope that your respiratory things get a little
I can't
better.
shoot anymore?
Thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, folks, let's play a little, I want to play a couple of clips of what took place on Friday. By the time we had gotten off there, things had really started to pick up in terms of, like, the strike. It's hard to assess what a general strike looks like in terms of what's not happening, right? Like you can look at numbers after the fact and say, like, nobody shopped that day. One day is a quick flip. People didn't come into work.
I don't know if this is.
And you would think, in the context of like public demonstration, with temperatures at anywhere from 10 to 10 below, that's cold. Like, that's cold.
That's feel in your bones.
That's it takes you, I mean, I'll walk to work in the teens or the early 20s, but it takes me like half a block until like I start to realize, like, oh, even my knees are cold right now, even with my lined pants.
Yeah, as a North Dakotan, I could say that's even cold for people from that part of the world.
But here are images. This is on Friday, the day before, less than 24 hours before Preddy was murdered. Killed.
What? Murdered.
I mean, I don't know what the legal
Lock me
term
up.
would be,
Lock
but
me up if you can't say murder.
but here's aerial shots of this. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's crazy.
This is from BTB.
There's no audio.
There's no audio on this. It's just drone footage.
Let's get the ball damage up.
This goes on, and then it goes around the corner, and there's even bigger numbers. It really...
And there are also, I'm sure, people that were striking that just, stayed home.
Well, exactly.
Like, right,
I mean,
right.
this is I mean, that's the thing. Here is another image. Let's go to the, you can see around the corner, and it just keeps going down. And then it turns the corner from there, too, I think. But let's go to that other shot, and you can hear people chanting in
baby balls
rising and changing of our system.
Baby balls
rising and changing of our system,
And
because
how
it
you know
involves.
is- I just want to say real quick how you know is because Tim Walz and Mayor Fry didn't support it.
It is a moment of like both of class consciousness and using this and using that
baby
power
balls.
to the authority and seeing these things as inextricably linked.
A
Like
catapult?
we've been told for
Which
a
is
long
3 to
time
5
you could, for
every
some
1
reason,
second with
separate
tradition.
capitalism and you're standing up against it. But you're seeing that white supremacy and capitalism are intrinsically linked, and the systems of economic domination are similarly the systems of racial and ethnic supremacy that show themselves in a variety of different forms. But in this instance, it's immigration laws. It's what Wally was talking about, the concept of citizenship, how we have tiers for people's rights and what they are allowed to have in this country based on pretty arbitrary kind of definitions, and make it very difficult for certain people to be citizens because we want that they're more easily exploitable in that way. And so I that is a very hopeful development out of this weekend, in spite of obviously how horrible everything is.
Nameless in Minnesota says, keep in mind, many of us did not go to the protest because we were still patrolling our neighborhood.
Right.
Again, the numbers extraordinary there. And I think we're going to see more of this, obviously, in the wake of
This guy's a
killing
little
of Freddie.
more difficult to
all right, we're going to take a
control.
break, head into the so-called fun half, wherein we will play more footage out of Minnesota. Also, we're going to talk about how things have changed dramatically in terms of the vote. I mean, on Friday, we were saying, in regards to those 7 Democrats who voted for the funding, and it's really, let's be clear, Hakeem Jeffries did not whip those people. Now, he may not have any control of what Jared Golden does, because Jared Golden's retiring. Although,
Make a point.
well, I got to imagine, if I had to bet, Jared Golden is not going to have a job that has nothing to do with Congress when he goes into the private sector.
No. He's
like,
the
this
co-chair
guy's
of the
not-
Blue Dogs,
this
and
guy's-
he's a military guy, right?
Of course. This
Yeah.
guy's not going to go like, you know what? I've always wanted to pursue painting. Or I'm going to do some local, I'm going to do cabinetry work. I'm going to, one more year of my apprenticeship. No. I would bet you just about everything I own that Jared Golden's going to have some job where he is going to utilize his access to Congress. Lobbying, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Hakeem Jeffries has the ability to make that very difficult. I mean, presumably he's going to be Speaker of the House come January, and they can make all sorts of rules about, like, you know what, Jared Golden, we don't have enough credentials for you to come on the Hill. Whatever it is, there are ways. And we should also say, like, Rosa DeLauro sits on the chair of the Appropriations Committee. There were ways in which to make the DHS funding more prominent rather than to roll it into the minibus.
Huh. The portrait one went away.
And we were saying on Friday,
Hey, what up, Etch?
these people who are voting for
I know.
it's as if they think that, like,
Why did
what
my portrait?
they're voting on what
thing
ICE has
stop?
done. And that's it. That's going to be end of story. As opposed to, like, we're only a year out and we've seen what ICE has become
That's
in that
weird. My
year.
portrait
Where do you
stream
think they're
went
going to be in 10 months? They're going to, I mean, this is just the beginning of this, folks. This is just the beginning of this.
I don't know.
There's going to be more people they kill. I mean, the concentration camps they have set up, and we're going to play some footage of what's going on in, like, Texas and what's going on. I mean,
We have no idea how many people are dead in these camps. No idea.
I know people representing people in Berlin, New Hampshire.
I'm YouTube today. I was doing a vertical
where
and a
these are
horizontal.
basically, like,
But you know what?
semi-torture
I'm actually
facilities
gonna.
because
I'm gonna stop the stream real quick and then restart it. So stick around. I'll be right there.